In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that everybody needs to understand is, what do you make? And you'd think that question would be a lot easier, but there's actually so many confusing things that show up on someone's pay stub to let them know actually what they make. So stay tuned. I'm going to go through it step by step to really help you understand, what do you make? Hi, I'm Jamie with The Saving Secret, where I help you become more intentional with your money. If you're new to my channel, I help people increase their savings and help them on the path toward financial independence. One would think and assume that it would be so easy to really understand what your take-home pay is. But between taxes, deductions, and everywhere in between, it can be really hard and difficult to understand exactly what your take-home pay is. And do you have enough to pay your bills? And so a lot of times it can be very frustrating. And so today I'm going to walk through how to truly understand and read your pay stub, but more importantly, to make sure that you can cover your expenses and build lasting wealth. So before we get started, one ask that I have for you is be sure to smash that like button. It's really greatly appreciated and helps my channel continue to grow. If you like the content that I share in this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button and see future videos that I do that can help you on your journey towards financial independence. Without any further ado, let's get started. So when you're understanding your pay stub and really understanding what you make, a lot of people will talk about what is your gross pay. And this is just pay that is what you expect to make. If you're an annual earner, if you have a salary, this is what people will talk about what they make. So if they make 60 grand, they'll say, oh, I make 60 grand. But that's not necessarily what your take-home pay is. That is your gross pay. And so your gross pay, whether you're salary, whether you're hourly, whoa, or your hourly, there we go, that sounds better. You'll really understand what your pay is that'll help you in the long term. So once you understand what your gross pay is, which most people know pretty quickly right away. Now, if you're hourly and you don't know exactly what your pay is, it can be a little bit confusing. But really, you have a ballpark of what you expect to make based on your hours or based on your salary. So once you have a good look at this, if you have a job, you pay payroll taxes. You might be saying, what are payroll taxes? Well, that's Social Security and Medicaid. And so if you're paying payroll taxes, if you're a 1099 employee, you're going to pay the full amount, which is 15.3% of your income is going to those pesky payroll taxes. Now, if you're a W-2 employee, half of that paid is through your employer, so you're only responsible for 7.65% of those taxes. So when you're making your money, 7.65%, if you're a W-2 employee, is going to Uncle Sam to pay for Medicaid and Social Security. And this is something to be really aware of because there's no real forms that you need to fill out to change to determine how much you need to take out. So if you are a W-2 employee, your employer will automatically pull these out. If you're a 1099, you're going to have to make sure that you take this money out, put it off to the side and pay taxes on it. Or if you don't, you could get hit with a huge tax bill at tax time, or even hit with penalties if it's been too much money that you've made without paying it quarterly. So this can be confusing. So the first thing to understand is payroll taxes. The next line item you may say is federal taxes. You may be telling yourself, payroll taxes? I thought that was federal taxes. Well, federal taxes, this is what most people think about when they're talking about income taxes. And this is taxes on your income based on what you make. So if you're a regular W-2 employee, you're going to have to figure out how much you're going to pay. Now, at the beginning of your job, maybe once a year, you're going to have an opportunity to fill out what's called a W-4 form. And this is going to determine how much money is taken out of your paycheck each pay period to cover your taxes. So you may have deductions in there like how many kids do you have, if you're married or you're going to be filing single or head of household. This is where you put this on this form, and it helps you determine what you need to take out for taxes. Now, if you're getting a large tax return, this means that you're not properly filling out your W-4 form. That means you're taking out too many taxes and you're getting a large refund. So again, the goal is not to get a large refund, because that just means you're prepaying your taxes and getting it once a year after you file your taxes. You really want to get either a very, very minimal or have to owe a very minimal amount in taxes. That is the goal during tax time. But the way that you can determine how well you've done is really understanding what you've done on your W-4. So filling out a W-4, I'm not really going to talk about this. I've done a whole nother video on understanding taxes and filling out a W-4. You're welcome to check that video out. But really, if you're paying an extra $250, you're going to get a $3,000 refund. But is that really good? Because that could be an extra $250 a month you could be making every time you're getting your pay stub, but instead you're putting that towards taxes. So again, a large refund is not necessarily your friend. So those are the first two taxes categories that you're looking at. The next category is deductions. These might be insurances. This may be things that are employee benefits, whether it's medical insurance, dental insurance. They might even offer you coverage for life insurance or other different deductions that come out and are benefits to you that you can help deduct for. And these are important. Again, these expenses can really add up and take away from your gross pay, but they're important to make sure that you have. And the last area that you see deductions these are your retirement contributions. You may have a company 401k, you may even have a company stock plan, whatever it is, these are additional deductions that you have to lower your pay stub even further. So if you take all of those things, you're going to be left what's called your net pay. And again, your net pay is not necessarily something that's going to know off the top of their head, but this is the amount of money that's direct deposited into your account. This is the money that you're looking into. And you want to make sure that whether you're paid bi-weekly, twice a month, once a month, whatever you're paid weekly, that you want to make sure that this amount monthly is able to cover your expenses. Because if this amount, this take-home pay, is able to cover your monthly expenses, you're doing great. But a lot of times people aren't able to cover their expenses because their take-home pay is smaller than their monthly expenses. And if this is the case, you need to find ways to lower your expenses. Find ways to reduce your expenses. And I've done a lot of different videos about that and how to lower your expenses. But really finding ways to lower your expenses is going to really help you out. So I can't stress it enough. Find ways to lower your expenses. Once you get to a point where your expenses are actually lower than your take-home pay, then you're doing a great job and you're really where you need to be. And the last part with that is you want to make sure that the additional that you have over your expenses is you're using it to increase your net worth. And what I mean by that is if you have debt, you need to be focusing on reducing your liabilities. Eliminate debt. If you have any questions about that, I've done a whole other video of how to use the debt snowball, how to take care of debt. Once you have debt out of your life, then you can focus on building assets and buying them. And this is also going to help you increase your net worth. So again, looking at a pay stub can be very confusing. But once you know a little bit more information of once you have your gross pay, and then you take out your taxes, whether that's payroll, federal. I didn't even mention if you've got state taxes. If you have state taxes, you got to deduct that as well. Then you have your regular deductions, whether that's insurances and other things that are provided for you by your employer. And then you might have some retirement accounts and other assets that you're building through work that you can deduct. After all of that, that's where you get your net pay. Once you have your net pay, you really want to make sure that you have enough to cover your expenses. Once you have enough to cover your expenses, you want to use that to increase your net worth. So that's the secret of how you double check and review your expenses and make sure you have a better understanding of you make. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to hit that like button. If you're interested, feel free to check out some of my other videos where I go into more depth of other ways to increase your savings and help you build lasting wealth. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Hourly. Whoa.